Dr Laurence Buckman. Dr Buckman, thank you for joining me. I mean, we know what happens over Christmas. People stay at home and they do all sorts of things and end up in casualty or A&E or fall off a ladder or electrocute themselves with the Christmas lights. This is the time of year when they're going to slip on an icy drive and burn themselves on the Christmas pudding. It's that kind of time of year. Just the most difficult time for junior doctors to go on strike, really.
Yes, I don't know why they've chosen this particular time. I understand they're very upset with the new Secretary of State because the negotiations have broken down. And I think that's a shame because she started so well just over a week ago. She was very positive about the junior doctors. So I wonder why the conversations have gone wrong.
I mean, they have been able, haven't they, to sort out a deal with consultants. So those consultants, obviously the highest paid in the pecking order, the highest echelon of doctors. It seems quite confusing that they've been able to sort out a deal with them and they haven't been able to do something similar for junior hospital doctors.
Yes, I think that's very strange. And I wonder why that's happened. Clearly, the issues are not the same, neither financially nor in many other ways. But the opportunities for constructive engagement between the junior doctors and the government, I would have thought were substantial, particularly on the back of the consultants' solutions to their problem. Even if you wouldn't do it exactly the same, you could certainly build on the same ideas. And why that hasn't happened, I don't know.
I have had many junior doctors on my programme and they are, you know, always very, oh, gosh, doctor, I'm so sorry, we're going to have to go straight to a press conference at Aberfan, but thank you very much indeed for joining me. Let's cross live to South Wales now, where police are giving an update on the Aberfan stabbing. Oh, my goodness. Rather confusing. Sorry about that. I don't know whether Dr Buckman has rushed off or whether he's still there because the police are taking rather longer to set up the briefing than we had imagined. So if Dr Buckman's still there, I can talk to him. Sorry about that. You were in, you were out. It was like the hokey-cokey all of a sudden. I was just asking about the fact that junior hospital doctors are very au fait with the figures and the facts about how much money an equivalent junior doctor was earning, let's say 6 or 7 years ago, and how little money the equivalent doctor is earning now, and how in material form their earnings have decreased really notably in the last few years. How has that happened, in fact?
It's happened because state pay to all sorts of people who work for the state has been frozen in order to fulfill the government's austerity agenda. And the NHS was in deep trouble before any doctors took any sort of industrial action. And the juniors have got further and further behind because their negotiations have been effectively frozen for quite a long time. And so what they need is quite a catch-up. And they're never going to get the whole thing in one lump sum. And I'm not sure they ever expected to. But certainly they will need an arrangement that stretches over a number of years in order that they can receive an appropriate graduated pay rise back to where they quite rightly think they should have been.
And junior doctors are very quick to contrast their paying conditions with the paying conditions in Australia, in New Zealand, in Canada, but even closer to home, in Ireland, where they say they could lead lives of an altogether different quality. They'd be paid on a completely different scale and their lives would be so much more enjoyable.
Yes, the pay of junior doctors has diverged in the UK from most other countries now. And many of them now see anywhere other than Britain as a place they'd like to work. And a lot of them are voting with their feet and going abroad. And the government's going to have to start to think about recognising this, because if the pay drops any further, and tiny pay rises, of course, are effectively a pay cut in inflationary terms, once that starts to happen, people will go. And we're already seeing large numbers of junior doctors going abroad, mainly to Australia, New Zealand and Canada, but there will be movements elsewhere. And it's very easy to go to Ireland and find a job there. And some people will say, well, why shouldn't I do that? And the government's going to have to wake up to this particular problem. That doesn't mean stuffing their mouths with gold. It means paying junior doctors properly for the work that they do. They do very stressful jobs, and this has gradually been less and less recognised as time has gone on over the last 20 years.
And just paint a picture for me, it's not going to be a pretty one, of the festive season being somewhat less festive because the doctors are on strike for 9 days, and what the sort of picture in A&E or other departments of hospitals might look like in that case.
I think actually A&E won't be hugely affected. Your Christmas pudding and Christmas tree stories, whilst they're dramatic, are actually quite rare. Most hospital work over the Christmas fortnight freezes to a very slow crawl, and so you don't get the volume of patients that you would get at other times. So paradoxically, waiting lists won't rocket during this time. As you rightly say, the biggest thing that what people will notice is that getting through A&E is even worse than usual, although things tend to happen rather less during this period. But even that, it will certainly be noticed that you can't get seen as quickly as you'd like. Waiting lists probably will be stopped anyway, because that's happened every Christmas holiday period for years, and I expect that to continue.
And you know, we have heard on this programme, out of the mouths of people who do seem to know what they're talking about, this awful phrase, the NHS is broken. I mean, it's something you just don't want to hear, you don't want to imagine to be true. Do you feel that those people are exaggerating? They're saying something epic because they're on television, so they want to give me a soundbite they think I can value? Or do you think it's really an accurate description?
Well, I'm afraid I think it's true. I'd like to be wrong. Nobody likes to say, I told you so, as far as this is concerned. My job now, working for the NHS, is looking after doctors and nurses and other healthcare workers who can't work because they're too ill to work,